So Maddie already said we did the Power of T-Share presentation already last year when the Hexpo online conference was on for the first time. And in order to do so, Maddie already said we did a lot of predictions really, really good. So why did we and how did we do that? We asked a couple of OGs, Hexicans from Germany to help us out making some predictions. And later on, you will see what kind of predictions they helped us with. So today we want you to understand that with Hex, when you stake, you can make more Hex. But how much is that really? And how much more beneficial is it to make a 15-year stake compared to a 10-year stake? And this is what we call the power of T-shares.
Maddie, could you please go ahead and bring our presentation on? There we go. Perfect.
So first we will talk about how the shares actually work in Hex. How do you earn more Hex when you stake your Hex? And later on, we will also talk about how we made the simulation so then you can see and maybe even make one simulation for yourself.
Exactly. So let's start in how the shares work in Hex. Let's move on with our presentation. And we have three determining factors which determine the dynamic interest system of Hex. And those three are the staking ratio, the daily payout total, and the pool of total shares.
Before you go on, I want to say to you that what we are showing to you right now, those are the mathematical facts about Hex. We do not have to take any assumption on that part.
So first of all, the staking ratio. Here we see if 1% of all the Hex in existence, if only 1% is staked, then the payout of the total staker class, the staker class is each and everybody who is actively staking their Hex. If only 1% of all the existing Hex would be staked, the whole staker class would earn 369% on average per year. And on the left side of this chart, as you can see here, if 100%, so each and every coin in the ecosystem would be in an active stake, then this average of the staker class would only be 3.69%. And as of right now, we are at 9.8 staking ratio and slightly increased from last year. And the staker class earns 37% per year as a total average. And here we need to clarify a little bit because new people are thinking, okay, if I'm over the weighted average, then I'm earning the 37% from the get-go. It's not like that because the 37% are the average of the whole staker class, meaning all those early people who are in it since like maybe 2 years or a little bit longer are in this total average included as well. So in order for you to get the 37%, you would need to stake long and then also wait a little bit because over time the compounding interest starts to kick in. And for example, our first 5555 stakes did not start with 37%, and now they are already way over 50%. The top performers are actually over 60% right now already.
So the staking ratio here shows you that Hex is a dynamic system. You are your own bank, so you decide yourself how much interest you want to print in the future. If you stake for 1 year, you earn about 10%. If you stake for the average staking class of what we have right now, the 6 years, you earn about 37%. And if you stake for longer, of course, you earn a little bit more than that.
So then the second determining factor, the daily payout total. So Alan, what is the daily payout total?
So the daily payout total that you see here is paid out in Hex on a daily basis, but you cannot touch it right away. You can only have it when your stakes mature. And the the total inflation is 3.69%. So it only fluctuates because of emergency end stake penalties. And this is what you see here on that chart. In the launch phase, Hex inflated, hyperinflated. That's why you see it going up linearly. And then after the launch phase, only the inflation of 3.69% is minted now. And the spikes, they are presenting the truth engine. Whenever somebody is untruthful to the code and has to pay a penalty, this penalty then will go to the staker class.
Yeah, and you also see like after the launch phase, it looks like a flat line over time. So over the years, when we will going to present you the power of T-shares, we will also see a slight increase here because let's have a look on how the daily payout works, how it's getting calculated, and you take it first all ever minted hex, and all ever minted hex you need to realize that's an increasing number because of the inflation of hex. So all ever minted hex times a fraction of the 3.69%, which is 0.009955%. And on this number, you add 50% of the penalties accrued in the last 24-hour section. And that gives you the daily payout total of the day.
So click once so the people can see the calculation in a big screen. So, and maybe they can calculate it themselves if they wanted to. But now we will go on with the next slide.
Sure. And the next one is the third determining factor, the total shares. So let's have a look on the total share pool. Generally speaking, about shares, we have two functions here. We have the longer pays better function and we have the bigger pays better function. With the longer pays better function, you can get up to 3x your T shares for staking for the longest amount of time, so 10 years or longer. And for the bigger pays better function, you could increase your T shares by up to 10%. We have the share price, which is only going up. And this is also a great innovation of the Hex system. And it also takes care that nobody can cheat the system.
So what you see here on that chart is the total amount of T-shares in existence. The black chart here was our chart from last year. And like Mandy said already, we said that the share price, the T-share price will go up in short term, but then after it reaches a top, it will go down from there on. And this is what really, really happened. But now we made this chart, updated this chart a little bit, and now it looks like it's only going down. But in fact, it actually did have a top like 1 month ago.
Yeah, and that is because we have only the data point of the 31st of 2020 and the data point of the 31st of 2021. And our prediction was correct, but we were like too long of our time frame. So what happened here in the short term after having our keynote last year, it went up slightly, not that much as we predicted, and from there it went down already to a level lower than where we started a year ago.
So shares are created when hex being staked, then more stakes are created, right? And when are stakes burned? Stakes are burned when hex
Shares are
shares are burned when stakes are coming due and people are end staking them. So this chart here right now is only the data point of 2 years. In the next slides, you will see the T-share pool, how it will evolve in the next 15 years. But in order to do that, of course, we had to make the assumptions.
So, and now let's go over to our assumptions, to the simulation of the future interest. So what we needed to assume here were basically two things, and the third thing could be calculated out of the first two. We needed to expect the share pool total of the next 15 years, and we needed to expect the daily payout total of the next 15 years as well. We already did that in the past, and we did that again. And from there, we can calculate the expected daily payout per T-share. So let's have a look at the first thing here, the share pool.
So like we said, we had a rising share pool short term, then we had the top, and from there on, the T-share pool only went down. So another significant thing is that everybody knows in the first year of Hex, the T-share price was really low. A lot of stakes have been done. And in 2030, we have a lot of stakes coming out. And this is why, this is then, we assume that 2030, the T-share pool will go down even faster if those stakes will not be restakes. And overall, you can say the T-share pool will decrease slower if stakes if the staking ratio is increasing and or if the average waiting staking length is increasing. And this is what we saw as well. Both things became true. Last year, the staking ratio was 9.7. Today is 9.8. This is one reason why the T-share pool will decrease a little bit slower. And also something else what happened, the average staking length increased and increased. I think 1 year ago it was 4.8, then it was 5.8, and now I think it's up to 6 and something, right?
Yes, that's correct. So that's great that the Hexagon community is finding out more and more and more about the power of T-shares, and in order to push the weighted average staking lengths so far out, a lot of new coins needed to be staked to the 5555 mark. So well done, community. And here in 2030, we are not sure yet what will happen. We just know this massive wall of end staking, and if only a fraction of those stakes get restaked, and if there is some re-evaluation going on, that something gets sold to a lot of new people and so on, then we will see this more aggressive decline of the T-share total pool. So now let's have a look at the second thing, what we needed to assume, the expected daily payout. And here something really interesting happened, because last year, as you can see here in this black line, we just assumed that the daily payout total will increase by 3.69% year over year over the next 15 years, because we didn't have a data point of real inflation, because the year 2020 was mostly from the launch phase. So right now we have all the data from 2021, and the inflation in 2021 was nowhere near the 3.69%, because we have such a delayed inflation in Hex because of the staking mechanism, as people who are staking for 10 years or longer are getting 3x the T-shares. They are absorbing the majority of the inflation, but they cannot access it, because only when your stake comes due, you get back your principal plus all the accrued interest. So what really happened was an effective inflation of 1.014% in 2021. And therefore, we have a new chart of the expected daily payout, which is also an exponential curve right now, because the inflation will need to hit the market. The total inflation is still the 3.69%, but as of the delay, it will take more and more time in order that this inflation will hit the market.
For me, this was probably one of the biggest learning when we made this Power of T-share presentation new and updated it. I did not recognize that the inflation in Hex was so low, and I'm really excited to see how the average waiting duration will behave in the next couple of years when we have pulse and we can stake totally different again.
Yeah, and our prediction for this year would be that the average staking lengths will increase even further. If the staking ratio is increasing further or not, it's hard to say, because it's really, really hard to really move that up, as so many hex are just in dormant addresses sitting liquid and never moved.
People have to understand that it's a weighted average, and this is why there's so much financial energy needed in order to make this average staking length bigger and bigger, or longer and longer. And this is really such an important metric that we have in Hex.
And now for the third thing, the expected daily payout per T-share, we could just make a calculation. Would you like to explain that?
So what you see here is the share pool. We had to make some assumptions of that, and that's here all the data points that we have, and the daily payout total as well. How much Hex gets paid out to the staker class on a daily basis. And then with those two data, we were able to make a chart of the daily payout per T-share. And as you see here as well, we had the same chart from last year that was drawn in black, and now the new version is in orange. So it was not too far from our prediction from last year. So it's really good.
Two numbers to point out here. Here at the 2020, this is the average payout per T-share for the entire year 2020, and here the 5.9 is the average daily payout for the entire year of 2021. And then from the years onwards, we just have the expected daily payout per T-share as of the 31st of the year. And yeah, that's our data points here.
So let's go on.
And now, after making